Broadcasting from the world famous LWDL studio, this is Life with Dan and Lewis. I'm Dan.
And I'm Lewis.
And we're here to talk about life and all the wonderful, magical, horrible, awful, fantastic stuff inside that four-letter word.
Life.
Before we get too far in, if you hear anything you like today, feel free to go over to buymeacoffee.com/LWDL. Your support is greatly appreciated for this little adventure we are on.
We appreciate you.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Good to see you also.
How was your week?
It was pretty good. We got a special guest with us today.
That's right.
Ryan Arnett with us.
Good to be here. Glad that you guys would have me on the podcast.
Yeah.
Hope everything's going well for you guys this past week.
His name is Ryan Arnett, also also known as Nun Nun.
None.
So it's a little inside courthouse joke for him. We switch over. Well, the PD's office, the one that he works for, switch over to Odyssey, and in Odyssey, it caused him to come up as Nun Nun. So every so often he walks into the office, I'm like, "What's up, Nun Nun?"
It sounds funny now, but I was a little worried. I thought I had gotten disbarred for a couple of days there. You know, I'm not showing up in the criminal system. That's it's a little concerning if you're the attorney on record.
You're right. There you go. So I guess I'll go first. Starting off, my week was pretty good. Starting off with last Saturday, did absolutely nothing. Didn't leave the house once. Played some Call of Duty online with Ryan and some other people. Alicia ordered some Wingstop. We had to reorder it twice because the first time the person said
never fails with them.
They couldn't find our address and we never got our food, so we had to reorder it.
Couldn't find your address and you live in an apartment complex.
Exactly. And
great.
they said that they called us from the gate and neither one of us had any phone calls from our on our phone. So we just think that our order got stolen and that was
Probably, yeah.
Hey, free wings for the delivery driver, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And Sunday we went. Sunday was Easter Sunday. We did the non-traditional where you go out to church and you go out and eat and all that.
Yeah, both
jazz.
of us. Yeah.
And so we actually got ready and went over to met up with Dan and went to the XFL game.
Yeah.
Where we got to go on the field, high five the players when they came in. After the game, they covered the field with Easter eggs, and the kids were able to go out on the field and have Easter egg hunt. So
yeah, it was a ton of fun. Really kind of unexpected experiences too. We went there just thinking we were going to go see the game.
Exactly.
And they were having a little bit of a fan fest beforehand. That was kind of a disappointment.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like booths with food and stuff, and it kind of wasn't. It was like one booth with extremely expensive hot dogs and M&Ms. And
but I will say this. The booth that we went to, and I got soda, a hot dog for Alicia, M&Ms for the kids, and a beer for myself, which came out to about $35.
God, jeez.
Guess what? I checked my account. I did not get charged.
Oh, that's nice.
I do not know what it was. I kept checking it for like a week straight. They did not charge me for anything I bought outside.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy in price, and also crazy I didn't get charged. I'm thankful for it. Maybe, since it was on Easter, Jesus resurrect my debit card.
Something.
And I didn't have to pay for it, but thank you, Jesus.
So we had that little bit of a disappointing experience at the Fan Fest. And then they were also trying to sell these $100 raffle tickets to, I'm not going to say the name of the place, one of those sort of timeshare vacation things. And
are we saying the name of it?
No, we're not going to say the name of it. They don't deserve anything more.
Yeah.
And so we were all kind of a little bit disappointed. Then we go inside and I was getting a drink and I look back around and Booker and Alicia and the kids are signing something and getting wristbands. And I was like, what's going on here? And they're, we're going on the field. I said, okay. So got my wristband and they go tell us wait by the steps. And next thing I know, we're walking down into like the locker room area. Wow. And then they're like, okay, you guys can stand here. And it's like the tunnel where the players are going to come in and then run back out for the game. I was like, okay, that's really cool. So we got to do that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Got to watch all the pregame stuff from down on field level.
Yeah. It was actually, it was very much exciting.
It was.
Because I would rather that we were down there for about like 15, 20 minutes, if not more. We got to see a lot of field action.
Yeah.
Players coming off the field, getting ready in the, the locker room and then coming back on and being all hyped and cheered up and everything. So it was definitely a great experience. Not only for us, the kids enjoyed it too. So definitely, and then the game was exciting. Even though we lost, we went into overtime, but
so we played the Houston Renegades. They're the best team in the league. They're undefeated. They're coached by Wade Phillips. He's a great NFL coach. And so they come into this thing, and we played them in Houston last week or the week before.
The week before.
And got our butts kicked.
Yeah.
And so to hold them, we were within 6 points the entire game, tied it up in the fourth quarter, went into overtime, and the overtime rules in XFL work a little bit strange. Basically, you go from the 5-yard line, and you just take alternating attempts for 1 point.
Yeah.
Just back, forth, back, forth. So we held them, and it was their third. You get 3 attempts. Each team gets 3 attempts, and then at the end of those 3 attempts, whoever wins the most wins. And if you're still tied, you go single, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it went to their third attempt, and they got it, and then we missed our third attempt.
Oh, okay.
But still, man, it was a great game. The first overtime in the XFL, and we almost beat one of the undefeated teams in the XFL. So it was just a fantastic game.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the fourth quarter, they were like, "Hey, if you have kids, hang out after. We're going to do an Easter egg hunt." So our section, there's a steps to go down right in between our section and one section over. So we just sat in our seats, waited for everyone else to leave, and then they said, "Bring your kids on the field." So we just walked down on the field and had an Easter egg hunt. Some of the players came back out and were signing stuff, even though we lost. It was a really good game. They still came back out, and it was a lot of fun. It was great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't even know that we had an arena football team, to be completely honest, until I saw Booker's Snapchat one day. And then, this past weekend, I kind of lived vicariously
through the XFL is not arena football, but we do have an arena football team, too. So
I'm clearly out of the loop.
We have the Gunslingers.
Yeah.
They're an arena football league. Arena football is kind of a mess. There's like probably 7 different leagues across the country right now that are unaffiliated. So the Gunslingers are in sort of a more wild, wild west, like do what you want kind of league, not really like an affiliated league. But then the Commanders, I'm calling them the AAF name, the Brahmas in the XFL. So the XFL was the Extreme Football League. Vince McMahon owned it, and it was like a less rules, professional football team. That thing went bankrupt back in 2020, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and Danny Garcia, his ex-wife, bought it, along with a capital investment firm. And they're trying to turn it into more of a second chance league. They have this whole idea of the 54th player, because NFL teams get cut down to a 53-player roster, and that's how Dwayne Johnson didn't get to play NFL football. He was the 54th man. So they have this whole idea about the 54th. This is the league of the 54th player.
That's a really solid idea. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Hopefully, and they're already supposedly completely funded and good to go for a second season, which is surprising considering what happened the last time we had football a couple years ago. So it's been a lot of fun, and championship games being played down here on May 13th or something like that. So regardless of who the teams are, it's going to be played in the Alamo Dome.
Are you going to be a reoccurring season ticket holder for next season also?
Yeah, I will buy some tickets again. Yeah, I hope I can buy my same seats, or I can move them over to an aisle. I really like the location of our seats, that section and everything. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to buy tickets again for next year, and hopefully the Brahmas do better next year, and we're able to see some wins at home. We haven't had a win at home.
Ooh, that's nasty. Not good. Yeah. How many wins total?
We have 2.
Oh, at least you're not winless, right?
Right. Well, so the team we're playing this weekend is the Orlando Guardians, and they are winless.
Hey, well, maybe that's number 3.
So we should get 1 win at home, win number 3. Hopefully,
oh, man.
If we lose to them at home, it's gonna be ugly.
Yeah, it's gonna be really messed up.
Yeah,
but it'll be the only game that I won't be able to attend.
That's right.
With Dan, I'll be away doing something, but we'll get that at the end of the show. So since Ryan, you are our guest today, we're gonna include you into this. How was your week?
My week was pretty good, pretty standard, all things considered. Last weekend I didn't do a whole lot, just kind of sat around and relaxed. Didn't even do very much housework, honestly. I got behind on that. Just a lot of napping, a lot of sleeping.
Nothing wrong with a weekend like that, though.
Yeah, right. But going into the week of work, it's always a little bit crazy in the courthouses, Booker, and just like running around, getting things done, dealing with the farewell of a coworker. One of my coworkers, Brandon, is good working with him. He's going to be moving to the opposite side of the bench, though, onto the prosecutor side. So we'll see how that turns out in the next couple of months.
We're going to grow to hate him and fight against him.
No, we had this talk earlier tonight. We're not gonna be adversarial outside of the courtroom. So we're gonna continue to
except for with him.
Okay, never mind. Forget it.
We will fight him
fangs out, tooth and nail to the death all the time.
We'll fight him if he has a case before him during trial, but afterwards we'll shake hands and have drinks and go to Twin Peaks again.
There we go.
Basically, what you need to know is that if you can't afford a ticket to a UFC fight, make sure you're in the same room as Brandon Booker and I whenever we first see each other again.
Right, there you go. Oh, he was a former deputy sheriff turned attorney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, he was an attorney before he was a deputy sheriff, actually.
So attorney, deputy sheriff, back to attorney.
Yep.
Next, he's going to be a stripper on... Just kidding, Brandon. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Everybody had a look. Seems like it was a great week. I forgot to mention in there, we had the great flood of Cutting Court 12.
Yeah. You guys got flooded out of your office a little bit.
Yeah.
Luckily, it did involve a toilet pipe, but luckily we think it was the supply side, not the
shit side.
It didn't smell too bad when I was down there this past week.
Yeah, yesterday, after I got off of work, I went and bought 3 containers of carpet freshener, and I used 2 this morning. And so when I left today,
is the carpet still damp as you're putting this stuff down?
No, it was actually pretty dry.
Oh, okay, I'm thinking you're making some kind of a weird paste concoction as you're sprinkling
it's
carpet
a science
freshener.
Right. And just wing it and see whatever makes the carpet the area smell better.
Right.
So I put that down. I vacuumed the common area and the hallway. But I left my judge's office and my court reporter's office just with the carpet freshener on there because both their offices got hit the worst. And so just see how it turns out on Monday morning.
Wow. That could be a little bit nasty because they turned the HVAC system off in that building over the weekend.
Well, they left the blowers in our office.
Oh, okay.
And so they're going to leave them on over the weekend.
That's good.
So hopefully...
I'm thinking, 48 hours of stagnant air in there.
Oh, God.
That's good, at least.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they do whatever they need to do, replace the carpet, get things back to normal, and fix whatever is causing the
issue,
the leakage.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. We're gonna leave it at that and move on.
What's in your cup?
Well, I back to one of Booker's famous concoctions.
I wasn't watching him tonight and he got away from me. What'd you make?
So I have some Devil's River.
We have the new Devil's River cinnamon.
Yes.
It's been out for a few months and I was finally able to get my hand on it. And yeah, it's pretty good. It's like a Fireball dupe. It's a little more natural tasting than Fireball. So that's what I'm drinking here, just straight. And I picked up a Truly too. But you did something in that class.
I have the Devil's River cinnamon.
Now I'm concerned because we were over at the liquor cabinet and we were moving bottles around. And I said, "Why don't you go ahead and drink that?" And it was a rum pour gin.
Yeah.
So it was. It's an orange and lime gin.
I got a little bit of that too.
Oh boy!
Oh my!
And a little bit of a
questionable choices here.
A little bit of a C4 energy drink.
So we have cinnamon.
Oh my!
We have orange. We have lime, and we have all the botanicals from gin. So juniper and pine and that kind of stuff. And then what kind of C4 was it?
Skittles.
Oh, excellent!
Yeah, great.
Mixed with Pepsi Zero.
Oh,
and Red Label Four Loko.
Oh.
A science experiment in County Court 12 and one in his glass too.
Wow.
Yeah. So
hopefully that's not what caused the science experiment in
hey,
I want to see you take a sip of that.
I had to clean out my pipes, so I pushed it down to other pipes. So here goes. Cheers.
Oh, that was a healthy drink too.
Mm-hmm.
I was really expecting more of a reaction. I'm kind of shocked, but would you say it's good?
Yeah, it's good. It just, you have all the flavors mixed in. You know what? This is like my third or fourth drink, so at this time it's just like it all tastes the same.
He's lost all concept of taste.
Screw it. I can go out there and just siphon all the gas out of my gas tank. It doesn't taste the same. So what are you drinking on, Ryan?
I've just got myself a Shiner. I had a little bit of the Devil's River from earlier, the cinnamon. It was pretty solid. I'm not normally a whiskey drinker, but normally I'm pretty much done about half a glass of whiskey in, and that one I finished full. It was nice. Led to some good conversation as well.
Yeah, sir.
Hanging out beforehand, and now I'm just down to the good old Texas Shiner.
You know what? If you keep it up and keep hanging out with Dan and I, we'll have you into a good old whiskey boy in no time.
We'll see.
We sitting on the back porch and spitting tobacco.
Yeah, old spittoon cans.
Right there you go. Smoking cigars, drinking whiskey, and spit cans and shit.
Have a contest to see who can make the loudest ring.
Right there you go. Who can spit the farthest?
I don't even know what to say to that. Before we tell you about our friends, we'd like to ask you to be our friend too. Life with Dan and Lewis is actively looking for new brands, podcasts, people, and companies to partner with. If you're interested, drop us a note at lifewithdanandlewis@gmail.com.
That's lifewithdanandlewis@gmail.com.
Remote working, remoting. Follow along on a journey of a new job, new facility, new coworkers, and a new normal. Remote working, remoting. Inspired by real life, enhanced by imagination. Follow along at remotingblog.com.
Remoting blog.
Eating gluten and dairy-free can be challenging. GFDF Eating aims to show all the delicious food you can make and buy without sacrificing taste, diversity, or quality. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at GFDF Eating.
Hey, what you eating?
We'd like to hear from you. After all, we are doing this for your entertainment. Drop us a note and let us know where you're listening from, or if you have any ideas for new segments, things you'd like us to stop doing, do more of, less of, or anything at all. Email us at lifewithdanandlewis@gmail.com.
That's lifewithdanandlewis@gmail.com.
All right, so today in our second segment, we're going to talk a little bit about civil versus criminal.
Yep, and this is where we, our special guest today, Mr. Arnett, comes into play because he is a licensed attorney practicing here. Are you licensed in any other state besides Texas, or?
I'm not licensed in any other state, but I did take the universal bar exam, so it would be a lot easier for me to go to another state than if I were to take the exam 3 or 4 years ago at this point.
Cool. So he is a licensed attorney practicing here in Texas. Right now he's in Bexar County, San Antonio, Texas. He is looking to venture out to do some of the civil side stuff, but right now he is currently with the Bexar County Public Defender's Office, where he practices out of County Court 12, which is I'm the coordinator of that court. So nonetheless, we have him here today. We're going to talk about a little bit of civil versus criminal and what goes on from an attorney aspect versus the coordinator's aspect and outsider aspect. Somebody who is also familiar with the courthouse procedures and stuff. So anybody who's out there listening who has a little bit of confusion between what happens on the criminal side versus the civil side, tune in and we're just going to go from here.
Yeah. So what started all this is I was listening to a different podcast, and they said something about there's some kind of a criminal act going on, right? Someone was getting beat up or something. And he said, oh, well, I guess the victim decided they didn't want to press charges. And I thought, well, that kind of doesn't work that way, but I sort of kind of get what you were saying. And so I thought, well, I bet you a lot of people don't understand the difference between civil and criminal law. So I thought we'd start with just describing what some common civil things might be and what some common criminal things might be and sort of how the whole process works. So I made some brief notes here. I thought we'd just sort of go through them and talk about what the different things are. So civil law is a person versus a person, or a business, or an entity, but it's two people, not involving the government in general.
Mm-hmm.
And these are things like when there's money involved in the situation, divorce cases, child support cases, child custody cases, adoption cases, tax cases, insurance money, that kind of stuff is on the civil side of the house. Versus criminal law, where the two parties aren't a person and a person. Yeah, there could be two people involved. There could be a victim and a perpetrator, or the criminal in this case, the arrested party, whatever you want to call them during whatever phase, defendant. But the difference is that the state is the other actor in a criminal case.
Mm-hmm.
So
one thing that's different on the civil side when for one instance is child custody, but when it comes to child custody, every party in that entity has an attorney. The state has an attorney. The parents have an attorney, whether the parents are together or separate. Each one of them have their attorney. The child is represented by the attorney.
Yeah.
So there's more attorneys at play in child custody.
Yeah. So I guess, saying that the state is only involved in criminal matters, that wasn't what I was intending to say there. Really, the state can get involved in other matters too. And specifically, that's the attorney general's office getting involved in a child support or child custody or support case.
Yeah. But so since we have Mr. Arnett here, Ryan, so based off of your specialty, tell us a little bit about civil versus criminal and how the law pertains.
Yeah, I mean, there's especially as a criminal defense attorney, I actually get a lot of my clients that ask me throughout the course of their case or maybe after it's been resolved if I can help them with civil things. Most of that is honestly related to ALR hearings for DWI. If you refuse to take the breath test whenever you get pulled over for a DWI, your license is subject to an automatic suspension, which you can contest through an ALR hearing. We don't do those as criminal. Now, some criminal defense attorneys will also do your ALR hearing, but as a public defender, we do not take those on.
Sure.
That would be something that you would hire your own attorney for, but it would still be the state on the other side, but more so like the DPS, at least for Texas, you versus them trying to say why your license shouldn't be suspended. Another big difference is going to be the money involved. There's almost always money on the line in the civil side of things, whether it is child custody, divorce, who gets half of what, who's going to pay child support, who's going to send the kid to school. Whereas in criminal, it's not money on the line, it's your liberty.
Correct.
Good point.
Yeah. There can be money involved when it comes to fines or having to pay for the monitoring systems that the judge is going to ask you to be on. But at the end of the day, it's, am I going to jail or am I going to be on probation or am I going to walk away free?
Right.
Yeah. So it's basically on one side, it's monetary. On the other side, it's your freedom at stake, Yeah.
Yep.
And there can be money involved with criminal cases that turn into a civil case. So if there are damages caused by a criminal act, you could end up suing them in civil court for not only the money to fix the damages, but also punitive damages for causing the damage to begin with.
Correct.
Right. And we run into a lot of that too with a particular crime, criminal mischief.
Yeah.
And I've had this argument with district attorneys before, and not so much judges, but at least talk to judges about it, about how sometimes the restitution that the state is asking for really is not related to the criminal case. If something gets damaged, then it might not be something that needs to be handled during the criminal case. Right now, we just need to say, hey, did they damage it or did they not? Are they guilty or are they not?
That's a good point.
If they really want to go after the money to repair or replace the thing that they're saying was damaged by that party, they really need to sue that person in civil court. But for most plea bargains, at least, the payment to replace or repair that thing is going to be included. And so that also, it doesn't necessarily bar that person from taking them to civil court, but it is a really good
certainly
defense.
Be considered in the civil case.
Right,
Hey, I already
exactly.
paid that over here.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, because there's been a few times where attorney did pleas and are just like, they want to reserve the right for a restitution hearing later on if needed. But most time, nine times out of 10, the insurance company goes ahead and pays for everything. So there's no further need for further legal action after that.
Well, there's no further need from the insured suing someone, but the insurance company sure as heck might sue to get their money back.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's a different lawsuit for a different day as doesn't pertain to the criminal case at hand.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it can definitely get really confusing. Insurance will almost always is taking care of the DWI related crashes. But the criminal mischief stuff, that's where insurance doesn't really come in. I'm not insured to go break my ex-girlfriend's windshield just because she makes me mad. Like that's going to have to come straight out of my pocket. There is not going to be an insurance company involved in that.
Well, unless ex-girlfriend's insurance company picks up the bill for that, and then they could sue civilly ex-boyfriend for the damages he caused. For the monetary damage he caused them.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, of course, the and then there's like indemnification. The insurance company is basically going to sue whoever they want to until they get their money back.
Right.
Normally, when you're an everyday person, you're just happy once someone has paid for something.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between knowing the ins and outs of the law and not. The insurance companies are going to have all those lawyers that know all the tips and tricks of the trade to get exactly where they need to go, not just to get everything back, but to also sometimes get a lot more.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas a normal everyday person is just going to be like, hey, he slashed my tires, just buy me a new tire and I'm good to go.
Right.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I find it, there's been a few cases to where, on a criminal side where, it could have been criminal mischief or, most of the time criminal mischief. There has been one assault case where I've seen this on to where the victim, just because the person was arrested, it spent maybe a day or two in jail, had to spend money to get a bond, had to spend some money to hire an attorney. That's all that the victim wanted because they wanted it to cost them something. And
just sort of the hassle of it was enough for the victim to feel satisfied that, hey, this person's, got what they deserved.
And then they don't prosecute. And then
that brings up an interesting point. So I wanted to talk about this concept of who determines when a crime is prosecuted. It's not really the victim necessarily. It can be, but that's based on policy, really. The state is the one determining whether they're going to go forward with a charge, right?
Right, yeah. It's never the victim that is prosecuting you. Now, like you said, it's policy. They can definitely gaslight the prosecution into prosecuting you, whether, it's a weak case. I've had plenty of cases where the district attorneys tell me, that say, hey, we can't dismiss this case. We have a complaining witness that really just wants to continue pressing charges. So until we get to trial, we can't dismiss it. And even then, we still might not be able to dismiss it. You might just have to bring all of your evidence and say on your day in court why it's not a charge. But it does bring up the other side too, where if someone doesn't necessarily want to continue pressing charges, I've had plenty of times where the district attorney has called a complaining witness, more so around homeless people that are breaking into cars but don't actually get away with any of their items. No, you know what? Just let them go. I don't care. I don't have the time or energy to go testify in court. And then sometimes you'll hit the middle ground where I really don't want them to spend any time in jail, but hey, let's give them some probation. They did something wrong. I want to make sure they're punished, yada, yada. If you need any cooperation from me, I will come in.
Right. But like you were saying, that's sort of all policy.
Right.
Not necessarily. And it's policy on the standpoint of if I don't have a cooperating victim, then I know I don't have enough to proceed with these charges. I need the victim's testimony essentially to get these charges, across the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's another thing that comes into play. It's street justice versus court justice. Because there has been some instances where, like I was saying earlier, where the victim wants the person to get arrested, spend money on getting a bond, spend money on getting their attorney. It costs them something because they were incarcerated from the time until they made bond. They have to spend money to get a bond and then ultimately hire an attorney to take care of this case. And in their heads, street justice has been served because it cost them something. And then they don't prosecute. The defendant winds up getting a dismissal, but the victim feels like they got justice because of it was an inconvenience for the person who did them wrong.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So rather than them taking out to court, saying the victim, I still want to press charges. I still want to go through with this, taking it to trial or whatever. They still want to go through with it. So you have both sides to where sometimes street justice wins and sometimes, court justice wins.
Sure. So on the other side of that, you also have some crimes that have, again, a policy that someone has to be arrested for it. You can't just, the victim can't be like, no, never mind. So these are typically the domestic violence crimes and crimes involving children. So in that case, even the victim being unwilling, the case may still continue to go forward.
Right. And we see that a lot in assault bodily injury, married. That's just what the statute's called. You don't necessarily have to be married. It's anyone that you currently or in the past have had a relationship with.
Okay.
Whether it's a girlfriend you're living with, an ex-girlfriend that you haven't seen in 10 years,
Wow.
stuff like that.
And I didn't know that.
And if they show up, if the police show up and she has even a scratch and it is as minimal as redness of the skin, and she says, no, don't take him, like nothing happened, it is technically the policy of the police departments here in Bexar County to arrest to prevent the furtherance of any family violence.
Right.
Wow.
And I saw more of that in the jail than I do right now in my current spot, because a lot of those do end up getting, later down the line, you can fill out what's called an affidavit of non-prosecution, where you sign a sworn statement saying, hey, I definitely do not want to press charges. This is not how it happened. Please drop the charges against him. And then sometimes the district attorneys will drop it, but sometimes they don't have to, because at that point, the charges have already been filed. And if they want to keep going and they think that they can win without the complaining witness as a witness during the trial, then they'll keep the case and go forward with it.
Right.
That's something that I experienced a lot when I was working for the district clerk's office. We deal with felony cases, and a lot of times the victim will call in or come in person. Like, well, you know what? I don't want this person to go to court. And I'm like, ma'am, sir, when you call the cops, it's not up to you anymore. It's the state versus that person. So the criminal charges have to go through until the end. If, the state contacts you, you don't want to talk to them, don't answer the phone. And then, and just go from there. But a lot of times it's that first initial phone call, even though like you work things out and you say, I'm sorry, I love you, and you don't want to prosecute. That first initial phone call is what's going to determine whether that person goes to jail or not. And in today's world, it's not just men going to jail anymore; it's women.
Yeah,
most of the time, it's
domestic violence. You often see both sides going now.
Yeah, because nowadays it's whoever calls the police first. So if a man and a woman are going at it, if the man calls the cops first and the cops arrive on the scene, we got a phone call from, John Doe, then Jane Doe's going to jail because John Doe called it on her. She could be bloodied and whatnot, and he can just be like perfectly fine, but she's going to jail. And the reason why I say that is because I had it happen to she's not a friend, acquaintance of mine that I have known before. Her and her child's father, her two children's father, got into an argument. She had scratches on him. He didn't have anything on her. He called the cops, ran outside and was screaming, "Oh my God, like she's beating me up and stuff." The cops were called, and she wound up going to jail and twice. And on her last case, was placed on deferred adjudication. No,
pretrial diversion.
Pretrial diversion. There you go. I was drawing a blank on the word. Pretrial diversion. And so nowadays it's not just men going to jail anymore. It's the opposite.
Sure.
The women can do the same thing. So it's definitely times have turned, but
I don't know. I still think in domestic violence situations, there's the men are still more likely in a mutual combat situation to go to jail than the female half is.
Granted, because they're always looking at as the aggressor in the situation.
Yeah. And
this is just anecdotal, but from my time in the jail, I would say it's actually probably not equal. Definitely still men going more. But whoever calls first doesn't necessarily mean the other one's going to jail. But they do use that, and especially if you've been arrested before, in a court case, in the actual courtroom when you're going to trial on one case, anything you've been arrested for before might not be relevant. It might not be able to come in as evidence.
Sure.
But the police, when they're arresting you, it doesn't matter. It's no holds barred. They can look and they can say, oh yeah, she's been arrested 3 times, even though they were all dismissed. We don't care. She's been arrested 3 times. Of course she's the one that's causing the problem, so we'll take her.
Yeah.
And, whenever...
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That just brings up the whole, there could be there probably is a whole level of injustice being done there based on contacts versus actual outcomes of cases.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And then, like I said, if one party has any physical nonsense on them, as simple as redness of the skin or swelling, then
the other aggressor's going to go.
It usually depends because, someone who is 90 pounds and slaps
Right.
their 350-pound boyfriend might not leave a mark on him. But at that point, if he hits her back, it is self-defense and she might have a mark on her. But at that point, it's more so clear to the police responding that some sort of violence occurred, whether or not who's the aggressor. And they can still technically determine that female to be the primary aggressor. But yes, normally in most circumstances, whoever has more hits on them is usually going to be seen as the victim in the case.
Sure.
There are definitely some exceptions to the rule, but the rule is usually that person has more marks than you, so you're going to jail.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a crazy world we live in.
It is.
You know?
Yeah.
So, Ryan, give us a little bit about your educational background, where you went to undergrad, where you went to grad school, and what landed you back here in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I've been kind of all over the place. This is not my first time in Texas. I was born in Dallas, went to Louisiana when I was 6. Dad got a job out there. Did boarding school in Illinois when I went to high school.
Wow.
Went to a college fair my freshman year, saw Florida Southern College booth, was pretty much in contact with their admissions team for the entire 4 years I was in high school.
Wow.
It wasn't necessarily my top choice whenever I graduated, but that's where I ended up. The campus was beautiful. Ended up in Florida Southern College in Lakeland. A little smaller liberal arts school, had a lot of freedom, a lot of free time to kind of still do what I wanted while also getting my education. Very, very intelligent staff there. I was a political science major. I never felt like I was being trained to be one side or the other on the political spectrum. My professors all definitely had their political alignments and they were very open about them, but the actual education aspect of it was very centralized and more about the mechanics of politics as opposed to the ideals. And then after that, I went to Stetson University College of Law, very popular school in Florida for law school, very trial focused. I've wanted to be a trial attorney since I was 12 years old and a criminal defense attorney since I was 16 years old. So going to a trial focused school just seemed like the right move to make. Yeah. And went there, did 3 years there. That's where I actually had the idea that I want to eventually get into agency and entertainment law. I was playing semi-professionally and in tournaments and whatnot for video games and started getting into live streaming and found out that there's really not a lot of help in the space for these young kids that are targeted by pretty predatory companies, in my opinion. You know, a lot of the people that are really good at video games range from 16 to 24 years old. And those are the people that whenever they look at a contract, they don't know what they're looking at. They just know that, oh, you want me to play a video game for money? Yeah, sure, I'll sign it. Turns out they're only getting, you know, like $1,000 a month. Yeah. And, you know, $1,000 a month to play video games sounds great when you're a kid, but, you know, if I told either one of you that you were only going to get $1,000 a month for your job, you would turn tail and run.
And sign an exclusivity contract, meaning I'm not going to make money anywhere else.
Exactly. So, but once I graduated, I moved to Texas. I thought I had a job here that wasn't going to involve my degree. And then that job just ended up kind of falling through the cracks. Decided to go ahead and take the bar here. Applied with the public defender's office, got in, and now here I am. Wow. I still plan on going into that agency entertainment law soon, but I've wanted to be a criminal defense attorney so long it just kind of feels like a waste if I throw away this opportunity right here, right now.
Sure. So when you went, your undergrad was poli-sci, right?
Right.
And from the get-go, was it poli-sci for pre-law?
Yeah, so I went in with the intention of doing pre-law. I was actually a criminology major for one day. I fell asleep in both of my intro courses and another unrelated course, so I don't really count that one. Maybe I was just tired. It was the first day, but like, man, I fell asleep in my 2 first classes that I'm supposed to be thinking about for the next 4 years. I talked to my advisor.
Not a good sign.
I talked to my advisor about it. I was open with him about it, and he said, you know what, try political science. It might not be the substance that you're looking for, but the training is going to be great.
Right.
I got good training while I was up in boarding school for writing, critical thinking, whatnot. Okay. But man, the political science background from undergrad, I could go crank out a 30-page research paper that would probably stand up to a panel of professionals asking me questions about it within 2 or 3 days because of that training. Very drilling research, having everything backed up by primary sources and really vetting your sources and whatnot. And it translated really well into law school as well.
Nice.
So I was accepted for pre-med, and during my first day of introduction, I said I don't want to do this. I want to do something different, and I came across poli-sci for pre-law. Yeah. So that was my original major in college. I ended up with a degree in criminal justice and business.
Okay.
So I stumbled all over the place. But my poli-sci classes are probably some of my favorite classes I took the whole time.
Definitely. I'm a poli-sci major too. So yeah, definitely. Very interesting. Very.
You're a poli-sci major that ended up with a degree in criminal justice, right?
No. Poli-sci.
I don't know why I was thinking your degree was criminal justice.
No, poli-sci, minor public administration. But poli-sci is definitely one of those subjects that definitely there's a lot of substance behind it.
Yeah.
And it opens up your eyes to a lot. And, I used to tell people that I was a poli-sci major, and they were just like, well, that opens up the door for a lot of different careers. You can, go further and get your PhD and teach. You can go to politics. You can go become an attorney. You can go here. You can go there. It opens up the door to a lot because it expands the way you think and the way you analyze and the way you see things. That it just opens up. There's a very broad spectrum of different avenues that you can go just based off of the poli-sci major and the classes that you take to go along with it. And I totally agree with you that it does get you to it has a lot of critical thinking. And with the critical thinking, it does open up your eyes to a lot more different things and stuff like that. So being that now that you have practice criminal law, where do you see yourself going from here in the next 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years for me is honestly almost unpredictable. I would say 5 years is probably the longest that you'd see me in San Antonio as a public defender. The only thing that might change that, kind of a meme and a joke, but I do plan on running for city council in the next election just because I think San Antonio is a very divided political, very either you're far left or you're far right. I'm a very central guy, so I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll just throw my name in the ballot, see what happens. Now, if I end up winning and you build a somewhat political career here, maybe I stay for a little bit longer. Other than that, probably stay here, get a couple trials under my belt, have some fun, get the fulfillment. I get a lot of fulfillment being a defense attorney, so just more of that fulfillment. And then after that, while I'm doing that, do some just civil stuff on the side just to kind of keep my interest in the rest of the legal practice. And then I'll probably fully transition into opening my own firm for entertainment law agency, contract negotiation, stuff like that. And I'm kind of a drifter. I explained I move a bunch of different places. And even I was in Florida for 7 years, but I was 3 hours probably or so apart from where I went from undergrad to law school. So I still, once I stay in one place for a little while, it's ready to move on to the next one.
Yeah. So, being that I have known Ryan for almost 2 years now.
No way.
But
no,
a little over a year.
No.
How long?
We met in September of 2022. It is only April of 2023.
Oh well.
We've only known each other for 7 months, but it does kind of feel like a 2 year thing.
It does. It seems like I've been knowing you for
very quickly.
So what I got out of that is knowing Booker for 7 months feels like 2 years.
Pretty much.
I can sympathize.
Yeah. Right. And so, I forgot where I was going with that.
I mean, we just kind of clicked really quickly. Very similar personalities and know how to let loose in the workspace. So it didn't take long.
Yeah, it really didn't take long. And Dan and I also, when he moved from Colorado to San Antonio and he started with the district clerk's office.
Yeah, I had the same experience. I knew him for 7 months and it felt like 2 years of working together.
Yeah. It's we make jokes about it, but it's just like sometimes you come across those people to where for a short period of time.
It's true.
And then you look back on it, you're just like, wow, you guys have such similar drives in life and stuff like that. Because Dan and I, one of the reasons why we started this podcast is we like to take our life experiences, compare, contrast them with each other's life experiences, and see how, Dan likes to say we're all pretty much similar in this life, but it's just very subtle differences that make us different from one another. And then we all arrive here for one purpose, and it's to fulfill life. And in our life, we go along and we try to help others along the way. And you're a perfect example because you're a defense attorney, but also want to become, specialize in other areas of the law. And ultimately, in it all, you're still helping people along the way.
Right.
And I see it every day on your job as you advocate for your defendants, and you're very, going to the state and like, I understand my client was arrested for this, but this shouldn't be this and that. You're providing a service for them, and you're fighting for them, and you're helping, and you're ultimately giving back to them. Even if they're not a hired client or whatnot, you're still advocating for them, and standing up for their rights. And it's ultimately what, Dan and I created this podcast for us for people who are, generally have the heart to give back to others and to better help one another to make people stronger and better. And ultimately,
this thing called life is hard enough to get through, and if we're not helping each other out, then we're just making it harder. So I echo what Booker said. You picked a profession that is sort of uniquely aimed at making life less difficult for people that get put in situations.
Right.
You're sort of their guide through a difficult thing in a lot of ways.
And it all stemmed because I had a younger sister, only a year and a half younger than me. So anytime something went wrong in the house, no matter who did it, it was always my fault. Right. Either she was blaming me and she had nothing to do with it, or she had everything to do with it, but it's my fault for not looking after her and or telling her not to do it. So eventually I was like, man, I wish someone would just be on my side for once. And that's, I don't know how I developed this idea at 16, honestly, but that's when I was like, I'm going to be a criminal defense attorney. No one else is going to have to go through this without someone on their side.
I dig that.
Yeah. And, I admire attorneys who, I admire a lot of hired attorneys, but I admire a lot of attorneys who are, who don't get paid by the defendant to do what they're doing. And to see your drive and to see how you approach the state with your clients, especially when you have the facts and you have the evidence that they didn't do anything wrong, and how zealous you go after the state for an outcome to their case, which ultimately should result in a dismissal. It always sparks something with me. It just, because it's not like you're out there, like some of these attorneys are getting $15,000-$20,000 for DWI first. You're a public defender. You represent the public who are selected by the office for you to represent, and you zealously go after defending their rights. Some of them are assholes, I will admit.
Yeah,
I have to deal with them. You have to deal with them, but nonetheless, you still stick up for them and stick up for their rights, which therefore builds character within you. And anybody that will come across and know you, even if you decide to run for a political office or go out there and start your own law firm, should look out for you, because with that attitude and that mindset, it's you already have the upper hand on just attorneys who are just out there to make their next buck.
Well, thank you. And I didn't even have to pay him to say that.
Anything coming up for you this week?
Just standard work life for me for this week. May have to go out to Houston later this week. I had to reschedule a meeting today, handle some family business stuff.
Sure.
I technically own a pet salon in Tennessee. My mom runs it as my general manager, so the business is all set through Bank of America, and so I was going to go out to their headquarters in Houston and make sure everything was cleared up. And if that does not happen, then I have nothing else going on this week. Just standard work and a whole lot of rest, hopefully.
Sure. Understood there.
Yeah, for me, going out to Fredericksburg, Texas tomorrow for Alicia's cousin's wedding, and other than that, just a normal week of court.
I hope
That's
they don't
right.
let you near the bar with all the open bottles. Who knows what you might make for the people there?
Yeah.
There is an open bar there, so
Oh boy.
they'll make some good tips.
Anyone in Fredericksburg at this wedding better watch out.
What about you? What's going on for you?
Yeah, really just a standard week here. I do have the XFL game tomorrow. Like you were saying, it's gonna be the first one that you miss. But
Womp, womp,
taking a
womp.
bunch of the friend group with me. Should be a lot of fun. We're gonna go out there, do a little bit of tailgating, have a couple of drinks before the game.
Happy birthday,
and then
Claire.
head in. Happy birthday, Claire. That's right. Claire's birthday is today, and she is going to the game with us tomorrow night.
There you
So
go.
that should be a lot of fun. We were playing, like I said earlier, we're playing Orlando. They are the crummiest team in the league, so hopefully we get a win at home
There you go.
tomorrow night.
Win, win, win. Hoorah.
That's right.
Horns forward. Horns
Yeah.
forward.
Is that a chant they do?
Yeah.
You can't do horns up because of the UT, so you have
Oh,
to do
yeah.
horns forward.
Oh,
I hate it.
my.
It's
I
it's
really
a bit
do.
much.
The only way I
Yeah.
can do it is like when I'm gonna have some drinks in me. That's
Yeah,
the
a
only way I
little
can.
bit, yeah.
Horns forward. Looks like I'm about to poke somebody.
Yeah, but really just a normal week for me coming up, and then normal work.
Bowling.
Bowling does start next week. I kept saying it
Yes.
starts next week. It actually, for real, starts next week. It was not this week. I run a bowling league on Wednesday nights.
Oh, that's super fun.
Yeah, it's fun. And I'm both running the league and I'm going to bowl on a team this year for the first time. This is my 6th or 7th season. We do 4 seasons a year. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. That starts Wednesday night. So yeah, that'll be something I'll be doing for my Wednesday activities now for
Yeah,
6 weeks.
And Ryan, you are getting ready for soccer. and-
Hockey. Hockey is in 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I broke my arm about a year ago, last month, and haven't been on the ice since. So
Wow. Okay.
we'll see how it goes. But,
Yeah.
no, so, and I also signed up for soccer and baseball, and I'm trying to get this guy over here to sign up with me, but he's kind of giving me the cold shoulder. Keeps saying he's gonna look into it, and then by the time sign up day comes, he's like, "Yeah, I don't know if I can do it."
Yeah, I don't know about soccer. Baseball, that'd be kind of fun.
I mean, like I do have a full schedule. I mean, I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
You know, it's podcasts. You know what? I am actively looking at my schedule.
He'll look into it.
Yeah. Exactly.
I do think that it's going to be fun. It's just cramming it all into, our schedule. It's funny because, like, we say that we have busy schedules, and people really don't understand, like, our schedules until they actually, like, look at our schedule and, like,
Yeah.
holy crap, they do have a busy schedule. Because, Dan has a busy schedule, you have a busy schedule, and, I have a busy schedule. But, we still find the time to, get together and collaborate and make everything that we need to do, we make it happen.
And to his credit, he did say he'd come watch a hockey game or two and come to the bar after, because those are on Friday nights
Yeah, I mean, you broke your arm one time, so I have to come out there and cheer for you.
before it happens again.
I heard Friday night in a bar, and I'm there.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe we can get a live.
There we go.
Oh, Ryan, he's going for the goal. He got it. We do a live podcast here. So we are actually looking. So for our listeners, this is not going to be the last time that we have Ryan on the show. We do have some other stuff coming up for him. And if our listeners, if you have any other legal questions that he can answer, somewhat civil and criminal, send us an email. Let us know. We have Ryan back on the show and to answer all your questions for you.
Yeah, would be happy to.
Yeah, there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be a wrap for today. Until next week, here we go.
Follow us on all the social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and TikTok at Life with Dan and Lewis.
That's At Life with Dan and Lewis.
Video episodes are now available on YouTube, along with all our previous episodes in the audio-only formats. Check them out. We hope to see you there. We'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, check out our new limited series, The Spotlight. New episodes will be coming in between weekly episodes of Life with Dan and Lewis throughout the year. Thanks for listening today. More episodes can be found anywhere podcasts are found and on our YouTube page or our website at lwdl.buzzsprout.com.
That's lwdl.buzzsprout.com.
Until next time, ask yourself, what have you done today to help someone else make good choices?
And love one another.